Hey everybody, and welcome to Wix, which is what we're going to be using for the rest of our project. As I mentioned in the instructions, if you feel more comfortable with a different web builder, you're welcome to do that, but I will only be giving instructions for Wix from here on out. So if you haven't used a website builder before and you're not too familiar with coding or building your own, I think this is going to be the right choice for you. I also want to just let people know that if you are a Mac user, you should really use Chrome and not Safari because it works much better with Chrome. So that's the browser I recommend actually throughout the course for pretty much everything. So I just want to kind of walk you through the basics of using Wix and some of the major places where you can edit and do things. I will do a more advanced video a little bit later. But this should get you through this kind of first assignment and the basic setup of most of the features here. So to begin with, I'm not starting from the very get started page because I already have an account and signed in. So I'm assuming you can get to that part yourself. I would really recommend that you print off the Introduction to Wix instructions and start there in terms of getting started. And then maybe print that off and look at it as you go through this so you can kind of follow along. And then also when you're doing your own site to have that ready to hand as well. So once you get started, again, don't sign in with Facebook or Google. Do your own email address, whatever you want. It doesn't really matter if it's your IUSB one or anything like that. You're going to get to this main page. And you won't have any sites yet, so you would go to Create New Site. And then it would ask you here, what kind of website do you want to create? You can really choose any of these because you can always go to a different category later. So let's just say, okay, portfolio and CV. You want to go to this one, create your website with the Wix editor instead of letting Wix create one for you. So you would choose a template here. And then you can go through and choose whatever you want. If some of these seem appealing to you, you can do a little bit of preview ahead of time. So instead of, which I just did there, instead of hitting edit, if you wanted to go straight into it, you could do that. Otherwise, you could hit view. And you can kind of play around with it and see what the different pages look like. And before you hit edit, and once you want to edit, you can do this and see, is this the kind of layout that I like, right? And again, it doesn't have to be a portfolio site. If you maybe want to do something more with health and wellness, you could go for more of those kinds of backgrounds. All of these can be adapted, but try not to find something that is so far off that you're going to have to do too much editing to. So make sure it has kind of basically the pages and the layout that you like, because it's very hard to change once you have chosen a template. If you do, you have to start all over. I would also recommend not choosing a template that has everything on the one page instead of separate pages. So for example, this one here, I believe, is one where everything is just scroll down like this. This is very much more difficult to edit and to navigate for the kinds of assignment that we're doing. So I would much more recommend one that has separate pages like this one and most of the ones on here where it has About Us, the facilities, whatever it is. And again, think about more the layout than what the actual text and images are here. Okay. That one has a little bit of audio as well. So in any event, you can choose your template here. Again, be careful, and then you just hit edit when you want to start editing that site. And once you are there within the site, it will show up here as well, and you can start editing. Remember, you want to save frequently, especially before leaving a page, so that your changes will not be visible to others until you publish. If you leave the page without saving, it might not keep your changes. And you can always preview the site to see what it looks like without publishing as well. So let's look at, go into a site here and talk about how you can work within it. So one of the other things that you can do, first of all, is make sure that it has the name that you want. So you can go, as I mentioned, this is still in the first one, you can go into account settings over under your name, and you can change your username here. So your site will be your username.wix.com/the site name. So that's where you can change your username. But if you go into my sites here as well, and I'll go into my practice site, my Boyle portfolio site here. You can also just under site actions, hit rename site. And there is a limited time only upgrade today for 50% off, which is actually a really good deal if anyone's looking to thinking they might want to buy this site in the future. Okay, rename site. And this is your Wix site name. So you actually have two places where you would have to change it. And this is where you can name it. So the first one is your username. The second one is your site name. So here's my username. My site address is my username.wixsite.com/the site name. So I've told you the two places where you can go to find that. And that can be changed at any time, really. All right, so once we are in the site, I'm going to go back into Edit Site here, which I could also do straight from, again, that template when you chose it. You can have that one. As this is loading, I'm going to show you, okay, I'll remind later on the advanced loading experience. I'm going to show you what it is that you need to do for your assignment. For the first assignment, you will just need to have a header, which should include your name or the company name if you are using a client or building a website for someone else or your own business. It can have a short descriptor underneath if you want, so I could have, say, Sean Nichols-Boyle, English professor underneath it, something like that. And it should have some kind of image that's going to appear in that header and going to repeat throughout the pages. So for me, it's just some books here, but it could be anything else. It could be a personal photo, depending on the fields, if you want to do that, or something else that represents your personality. So this has to be included on the homepage, and usually we would have that repeated throughout just to give it a little bit more individuality, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so that's the essentials. I want you to choose your background, your font colors, your font type, and your header here, and then that you would also have your kind of rough about or bio generally on that first page. And again, you can look at those student examples for more guidance on those. And as I mentioned, Wix doesn't have spell check in all the browsers or templates. Some of them do, some of them don't. So proofread really carefully, because that's a big part of professional writing. And you might want to copy and paste your text into Word to double check. All right, so once we're in here, most of the tools that we need are here in the main menus, okay? So we're going to go through that in the customizing your site section of the instructions. So for one of the easy things to know, if you want to edit something, just click on it, left click, and you edit text. And here I can change my font size, I can change my colors, I can make it bold, italic, underlined, whatever I want here. Of course, underlined would imply a link, so I wouldn't want to do that, but I could. This is also where I choose my alignment. For the header, I'm having it more center aligned, but generally want to keep our left alignment. You can put in bullets, increase the indent, decrease the indent, change the text direction, whatever. So that's how you edit from within the page itself. And of course, you can animate as well. I recommend using this infrequently. Be very careful about your use of animation. You don't want it to get too complicated and too crazy. All right, and the same with, like, say, an image. I can just go in here and click Change Image, Upload, or choose one from Wix as well. So one of the easy ways to edit the template is just to click in on everything. But the other kinds of things you want to do will mostly be here. So this is the menus and pages, the site menu here. So this is where you can add a new page if you want to. You can also delete a page. You could just go in here and you hit delete. You can also move pages around or make them sub-pages instead. So let's say if I want to move the blog up here, then I just click on it and drag it up to wherever I want. And I accidentally made it a sub-page here. It went underneath the resume. If I want to make that a main page, I just click on it and go back main page, and it will become a main page. I'll click back down to the end. And again, make it a main page. You can see that if you drag it underneath anything, it automatically makes it a subpage. You can also make something a subpage by clicking here and clicking subpage. So it's pretty straightforward. This is also how you navigate. You can't just click on things when you're in editing mode. So if you wanted to go to, say, the books page, then I would click on it here and it would take me to that page. So this is also where later on we'll talk about adding SEO to your page, search engine optimization, as we talked about the news article, to make it easier to find. The next one is page background, very important element. So The page background, you can make it dynamic in more of a video. I really advise against this. It gets very distracting in terms of being able to read the text and making the reader kind of nauseous sometimes, depending on what's back there. If you are going to do this for maybe just the home page or something like that, I would have a solid text box or image in front of it. And otherwise, you want your background, of course, to be consistent throughout, so using the same kinds of colors and images. So you can make it an image. Generally, what people do is a plain color. Most of the sites will have kind of a palette for you to choose from, the ones that they think go along with this palette. So these are the colors here that you can choose. You see how it changes each thing. If I want to change a background within it, then I click on that background and I can change it there as well. Oh, oops. So I can, I think, change some of the backgrounds in other places. All right, so background color. And if you don't like any of the set colors, you can hit change here and you can go to a different color palette, which will give you some other options here, right? Going throughout. Or, done with that. You can also add a color. And if you, when you hit the add, then you can just kind of scroll through the colors and keep clicking around till you find the one that you want, okay? So I'm just going to cancel out of that, and nothing happened to change mine, all right? Once you've chosen something, as always, you can always preview, and that gives you a sense of what it looks like. The links will work in this too. You can get a sense of how everything fits together, and then you can go back to editor. Nothing is visible until you publish. If you, again, people are probably not going to find this unless you put in a lot of SEO to begin with. There's a lot of websites out there, so it's not really a big deal to publish. But if you're uncomfortable with that, you don't have to publish. What you can do instead is do get feedback. And you can read your comments or share your site with more people. So you can share your site here, and you share it by email. And what that will do is open up your email browser, and then it will allow you to send an email to me with that link, and then to put in my address here, say SFN Boyle or SFN Nickel, doesn't really matter which one, gmail.com. Maybe SFN Nickel is better because I check that one more frequently, iusb.edu. And you would send that to me, and then I could look at that until you have it published and give comments on the site itself. So that's another option for you there if you don't want to publish yet. This is also how you can see the mobile view and see how it looks on mobile and make changes there, but we're not going to work on that yet. Okay, so we've got menus and pages, background. The next is add. This is a really important one here. So add is where you can add different things to yours. If you want to do a new text box, you add it here, and you can do titles or paragraphs, and then you start working within it. You can add an image here. With images, you have a couple of options. You can either upload your own image, and you do that by clicking here, image upload, upload media, and then choose something from within your own site, either one of these or just computer if you have your own, or Facebook or whatever, and then you can use it there. Otherwise, media from Wix, they have a lot of good options here too. And of course, you can upload it from somewhere else that you saved. So you can do it by all categories. You can do something like choose this category. So maybe, objects, let's say, just looking at different objects. Something along these lines, right? Or you could do, I like this one, for example, the green typewriter. Say I wanted to make this more my header picture. I'll just give you a little sense of how to work with images as we're doing that for this one. And then we will move on to the next thing that you can do here. So if I want to choose this typewriter, then I click add to page. You can always give image credit in the footer. And of course it's huge and it's not where I want it. So one, you can kind of drag out. I'm going to want it in the header, but it's still way too big. But I want it here. And then you can play with it by doing different things here. So one, you can hit design, and you can decide if you want it to have different frames or different shapes, that sort of thing. you can crop it. And again, choosing a shape here too. I kind of like this circle still, so I think maybe I go with circle. I still feel like that keeps most of what I want in the picture. So, okay, I'll hit circle, close out, and hit apply. You can do filters if you want to have kind of a more different thing, just like Instagram, right? I kind of like the way it is already. I'm not going to choose a filter this time. I'm going to stick with my none. Close out of that. Or you can animate, you can link it to something too. That's a helpful thing. Sometimes, let's say you have a link to a blog or website that you've done, you could have that link directly to it, and so on. But the other issue is, of course, that this is still far too big. So I can change the size over here. It will keep the same dimensions. So I think for where I want it, maybe around 200, something like that. Yeah, that looks about right. And then I'd want to get rid of this other picture, but I don't want to do that yet. So maybe I'll keep that. So I'll drag it to where I want it. And there, that's great. Now I want to see what it looks like. I hit preview. I'm happy with that. Back to editor, then I could hit save, etc. So, and if you want to get rid of anything on the page, you just right click and you go to delete, and then it's gone. So it's pretty straightforward to add things like that, like an image or text boxes. You can also add galleries. These are the kinds of things where if you want to do a photo gallery, you probably wouldn't do it on the main page for now, but that's another thing that you could do. And some of them even have, like there's one down here where you can add a description title next to it if you want to describe it a little bit, all those kinds of things. The other main things that you probably would want to work with, possibly on the main page or throughout, buttons are always really good to use. Like say you want to have read more here, or read more about me, or contact button, something like that. You can change all these colors and shapes later, so these are not such a big deal. The themed buttons are ones that they feel, fit in with the color themes, but it doesn't really matter. So say I want to choose maybe this one here, and then I can just drag it to where I want. Over here, maybe I'll make it a contact button, something like that. Then I hit the change text, contact me. And where does it link to? Then you want it to link to, I'd link it to one of my pages here. Which page? I'll link it to my contact page, right? And I'll do it in a current window. It doesn't need to be a new window because it's within the site. So done. Great. And then I can just kind of move it wherever I want. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is you have these grid lines when you move things. So this helps you keep it, like say I wanted it to be in line with that column, then I want to make sure that it just fits along that same grid line so that it's directly aligned. So that makes it easier as well, right? Okay, great. And if I want to make sure it worked, again, I could just preview, contact me. Perfect, goes right where I want it to. Then back to editor. All right. Other things in the add button for later, and I won't go through all of these now, but it also allows you to do, say, video, social media buttons. If you go down to social, so you can link to, say, your Facebook or your Twitter or something like that. With any of these, although it gives all of those, you can delete the ones you don't want, and then you change it to your actual address. So it's much easier than it looks. Or you can just go to the exact one that you want, like Twitter, follow, etc. You can add videos. They generally like them to be the videos from these certain platforms, but you can do that. You can also add documents. That's another important one. Menu is also important if you had an extra menu on the side or something different than the menu they gave you. And then when you go to more is where you get a lot of the document buttons. So these are things like, here we go. Like if you want to add your a printable resume, so you have the little PDF button here to show it's a PDF, and you would have that linked to your resume and just add or maybe this one, then you would just add it along. You say what it links to, and then you add a little caption to it. So that's pretty straightforward. There's the add button. Other things within here, again, are the apps. So in the apps here, you have, again, you can use social media. Follow buttons can be here too. You can go to forms. This is where you might, if they didn't have one, you could do a contact form, active contact, safe contact, just an easy contact form, and then you change it to go to your email address. You can change the colors and layout of it a little bit as it goes. They also have, say, categories like blogs, things like that. I would be a little careful of embedding a blog. It doesn't usually work out very well, and the blogs they have are not, don't have as much functionality as a regular blog site, so I would kind of stay away from that. But they have a lot of things. You could do a chat, a comments, whatever kinds of things that you want. So these are little extra things to apps. Then the My Uploads is just where you can upload your own images and text documents, things like that, to add to your site and link to later. And then if you need any, those are kind of the basics. If you need any help, you can go up to the help section here. You can go to the Editor Help Center. It has kind of the basic categories, and you can also then search for a help item as well. It's pretty good. Again, Google is also good for finding people who have made videos or websites or just little articles or streams of information about problems. And of course, you can always ask me as well. The other kinds of things that we're not going to go into, they have, again, the blogging thing here. They have email marketing. They have how to take bookings. We're not really going to need that because we're not doing it for businesses purposes for most of you. If you are, those are things you could think about for the future, but it's not something we're specifically going to go over now. So those are the kind of basics of how to work within Wix. It just takes a lot of playing around with it, and it's pretty intuitive. I think it's fairly easy to use and has a lot of nice features. So try not to get too frustrated, and I hope that helps. And please let me know if you have questions along the way. Thanks.